You are listening to Something Rather Than Nothing. Creator and host, Ken Vellante. Editor and producer, Peter Bauer.
This is Ken Vellante with the Something Rather Than Nothing podcast, and I am really pleased to have Raechel Wolfe here, artist. Well, you do a whole bunch of things, but artist and curator of a recent exhibit that was in Portland called For Your Eyes Only. And I have a special guest host. Why don't you say hello, guest host?
Hello, guest host. This is Jenny.
We have Jenny Peterson, and so special episode, and just wanted to kind of get into talking about starting with like your exciting exhibit For Your Eyes Only. I really want to like open it up to you. To tell us about where the idea came from, but just right before that, I just wanted to mention just like one of the impacts on me that like made me think as soon as I saw the description, which was private sex, private photos that normally seem private, displayed publicly, anonymously, but in an artist in a gallery type of setting. So there's so many like big questions that were going on in my mind with it, just the very idea of the show. Before I go on too much about it, but could you tell us about where a bit more about the exhibit and how it came about in your work on it, just like in a very open-ended fashion?
Yeah, of course. And thank you so much for having me on. It's my first podcast, so very exciting. I can add that to the list now. Yeah, so the idea for Your Eyes Only came early last year, so early 2024. I was recovering from a pretty hefty breakup, and I'm a woman in my mid 40s, and thinking, oh God, can I just reuse my old sexed photos, or do I have to take new ones? Or like, I'm so out of practice, out of shape.
Yeah.
So I was talking with
recycled photos.
Yeah. What's the ethics around that? And like, I have tattoos, so it's going to be fairly obvious if I use older ones, because they'll be like, wait, where's that one tattoo? So, but yeah, I was talking to a girlfriend about it, and I was kind of showing her some of the photos that I had in mind. And she was like, those are really great. And she started showing me some of hers. I was like, these are so good. We should be in a magazine or like on a gallery wall or something. These are like, you put a lot of effort into these photos. You're thinking about like the context in which you want to be seen. You are doing, sometimes like hair and makeup, definitely wardrobe or non-wardrobe. Lighting is huge, location, which angles you're going to use. Are you going to use a filter? Like there's so much that goes into creating these images that, are sent off to hopefully arouse your paramour. So I'm just thinking like it's a real shame that they get viewed by one person and, forgotten, into the archives somewhere, when like they're just so beautiful. And so I had this idea it largely started out with just me and my friends thinking like it would be like fun to do it just like in a small space somewhere.
Yeah.
Not very big at all. And I went to a show opening, I think for Bobby Adams at Purple Door Gallery. And while I was there, I was talking to Chelsea, who I had no idea she was the owner of the gallery at the time, but I was just like, yeah, I have this idea of looking for a space. And she really, really latched onto the idea and was a huge supporter and was like, yes, let's do it. So then I was like, oh shit, like I'm in a legit gallery, not like some warehouse space or like somebody's basement. So yeah, then it kind of struck me that like, oh, this is kind of a big deal, and people are really, they're really connecting with the idea and really getting excited about it in a way that I thought it was a good idea. I think most of my ideas are good ideas, but like you're just like, I don't know, maybe I'm tooting my own horn or something, and like people aren't really gonna get it, or it's gonna be like too sexual or whatever.
Well, one of the things I wanted to just jump in, not to interrupt, but like with Jenny and I being in the audience at that opening, kind of seeing the reactions and, like from the different vantage points, there was a lot of excitement and like laughter and like very appreciative. It had just, I don't know, had a really good energy to it. So like just from our side to it. And I thought it was wild, and I had seen a couple pictures of you, but I could just tell, kind of the way you presented yourself in your role. I'm like, oh, she's the one who's running it. And so it was a really great energy. It was crowded, which I think it's so,
it was a great
if you're there at an opening, crowded, right?
Yeah.
Like crowded.
Exactly how it was supposed to be. And like Ken said, we kind of walked through and saw what we could, with the crowd there. But then we walked through a couple more times, and I actually liked kind of standing back and listening to people and hearing their reactions and hear them talking about the different pieces and the little different rooms, There's a lot going on in all those spaces.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well done. I just wanted to jump in at that point, talking about when you mentioned the reactions of folks. And so it was, you were probably going through a big jump right there, right? Because you had a certain scale or maybe space for where this would be. And it's in this gallery now. And then you're at the opening and people are like vibing and excited, right?
It was, well, I think it was terrifying because like the way that I got the images was I posted on Instagram that I had the show and, a little bit about what it's about. And I designed the website and, got that running. And I think I launched the submissions in like early November. And for like 4 weeks, I maybe got like 1 or 2 submissions. And I was like, oh shit, it's going to be a lot of me in there. Like, oh no, better get snapping. But then, towards the holidays, people, I guess, they were off of work, they were talking, they were sharing, they were at parties, whatever. And I ended up getting, I think it was like 67 different artists submitting 143 different images. So, and then the final show was 98 images.
Yeah, I was wondering how many. I was so impressed by the volume. Not that I didn't know what to expect, but I loved seeing these full walls.
It was incredible, and really, really, really proud to say that all genders, all sexualities, multiple races. We do live in a very white city, so unfortunately, I didn't have as many BIPOC people represented as I would have hoped. But yeah, it was lots of different body sizes, shapes, styles, everything. It just was like absolutely stunning. And, then there were the blurbs that went with each piece, which, so I got like some resistance from the artist, like write something about this piece, but I think it went a long way to keep this show from objectifying the artists and humanize the experience.
Right. There's a story behind them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to bounce between the what's happening there and that great exhibit and talk some more about it. But I also wanted to ask you about you as a creator and artist, some thoughts about like some big questions. One of the questions I really enjoy asking is, was there a moment you saw yourself as an artist? Like, was it aha? Have you always felt like an artist, or
Yeah, I think
what's your experience? Yeah,
I've always been creative. And as an artist, I think you learn what is called art as you get older. As a child, I did a lot of drawing. I did a lot of plays. For anybody who would pay attention to me, I would play dress up. I'd all sorts of things, making like little sculptures out of clay and whatnot. But I think that's just being like a child and having the support of people who encourage, play and creativity. As an adult, still always creative. I made a short film in New York for under Michel Gondry, who's the director behind Eternal Sunshine, Spotless Mind, and Be Kind, Rewind. He had this really excellent exhibit that I was so fortunate to go to, where you got to make, it was like a little like workshop or like science experiment kind of a thing, where you go in and it guides you through this process, and when you end, you have a short film with a title and a cover image and everything. And so that was the first time that I got to like kind of do something, and we were featured in his book. So I was like really
so cool.
That's great.
Very excited.
Yeah, no doubt.
But yeah, so that was the first time as like an adult that I was like, ooh, I can do this. It doesn't have to be for money. It doesn't have to be, whatever. I can do whatever I want.
Because you enjoy it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask you as well. And I think I thought about this question a lot with your exhibit, right? Because there's a shock maybe for like common values of like sex and, its elevation or presented as art. I'm a big fan of comic books and like underground kind of literature, pardon me, and zines. And just seeing all that different all those different types of expressions. Some folks would look at it and say, "Oh, is this art? What is this? Being shown?" And I began to wonder what your thoughts were about what is art, or whether you felt your exhibit like interrogates. I think it interrogates that question, but what is art?
Yeah. I mean, okay, so art, I've had many discussions about art and craft and which is art and which is craft. Art for me is a vehicle to communicate. And if it's art, it is successful in communicating. And if it's craft, it's not. So if you go and see a painting in a coffee shop that was bought from IKEA and to you it moves you, then that's art. And if you see it and it's just something on a wall that is taking up space, then that's craft to you. But it is very individual. And I do believe that your tastes can change as you grow older and your, sophistication expands. but yeah, it's like, as an artist, it's a vehicle for you to communicate with people in ways that maybe you can't in other ways. I'm not so great with the written word, but I can take a hell of a picture, which, we discussed in some of the different events that we had around that, is like, why is it easier to send a picture than maybe, communicate and use words to convey that same desire and feeling and whatever. But I think on the whole, the show was successful because all of those pieces, and it is art. All of those pieces successfully conveyed the message to the intended audience. And, even this broader audience that we opened it up to, they all felt that message as well. So yes, it is art. And also, just an aside, why is it that a nude image of Kate Moss taken by, Mario Sorietti or whatever, it, can be in a gallery in London and sell for millions of dollars, but like, your nude can't? That's bullshit. Like, no, self-portraiture is art. Nude self-portraiture, just because the intention is a little bit saucier, but what nude isn't intended for that? You go to the Louvre and it's packed with dicks and tits. Like, come on now. True. That has always been the most human thing we can possibly do. Yeah. Even cavemen we're
most obsessed at looking at ourselves naked and looking at other people naked. That's just our human nature. It's what we're supposed to do.
Exactly. So yeah, no, it's a beautiful show. I'm very proud of it. I'll keep
talking. It was, well, there was something, I think, that's very healthful around this whole discussion. And I wanted to connect it back to, Squirm, Kells and Tess, and, who do, we had talked to them on the podcast, and it was really helpful because we talked about our experience using their cards that were prompts.
Their card deck, yeah.
I love that deck. It's so fun. Yes.
Yeah, and it was just, well, it was really good. It was good to talk about it, and Jenny and I having discussions about that and saying, hey, use these prompts. Sometimes it feels difficult to prompt a subject, or you're exhausted or something. And so it was really nice to talk to them about that. And, you have some connection with them I'm going to ask you about, but just I thought it was just very healthful being in that art environment, because I would even say, as a private thing that I didn't even communicate to Jenny, is even still, I grew up in the 80s, right? So I'm an 80s male, which it feels so ancient, some of the ethos around that, but the paranoia around male bodies that I grew up around, the culture, and I still experience just some of the impacts of that, of shame, or should I look? And I think there's an immersion within that, because my early young experience was obviously adverse, silly, stupid, and there's a lot of negative components to just that level of discomfort. And it was very helpful, because it was really, not to sound cliche, but celebratory, fundamentally celebratory of being, here's my body, whose I am, who I am, right? Which is kind of an art question, who are you? This is who I am. This is who I fucking am. Right here, you can see me. And so it's important. It's not just so cool to look at and have a feel and be electrified of looking at bodies in that private way, public way. It's the fact that being it's all right. It's all right, human beings. It's all right to look into whatever. And I just want to say, like, in the same vein with the healthful part of Squirm, I think that's a connection back to what you did. But so I just wanted to wonder if you had any further comments on that, and talk about how Squirm comes about in this whole project.
Yeah, so I really love that you brought the topic of like cishet men being able to look at other men's bodies, because that was very purposeful.
Yeah.
You know, I in the beginning it was going to be a femme and them events, you know, and then I was like, wait a minute. Like, the people who need this inspiration the most are cishet men, because I can't tell you, like, you saw from the show, especially from like homosexual or bisexual people, like, they're not just displaying, you know, a downward view of their dick. Like, there's abs, there's butts, there's arms, there's, you know, curvatures of your body. And like, it's really beautiful to see men in that way. You know, I think women want to see men in that way, because men's bodies are just as beautiful as, you know, women's bodies, and all bodies are beautiful. But you know, I was very mindful of like, okay, how am I going to like pepper it in and prepare the audience for the Dong Dome? Somebody, so the back room for the audience here was where we had all of the, we'll say, genital forward images. Where if a child
forward, yes.
Where if a child wandered in, perhaps like they're not going to be
wasn't the first thing they saw.
Yeah. But I was, so I was mindful of making sure that, like, you know, it was maybe traditionally more sexy, like those, like the traditional, I guess, sort of like body image beauty standards that are pushed upon us by like capitalism and patriarchy. We're all at the front just to get people into the door and like kind of soothe them a little bit and be like, okay, this is exciting.
The comfort zone.
And then as you move forward and you're surrounded more and more and more with like different kinds of bodies, different, you know, whatever, you are perhaps a little bit more desensitized to it before you get to the Dong Dome. And so you go into the back room, and like those images are just as artistic and beautiful as the ones up front. But they are a bit more challenging for, you know, a lot of people. So it was very, very mindful in the way that we tried to kind of shape the experience for people, so it wouldn't be just so absolutely jarring whenever you entered. But I did have so many cishet attendees coming away and saying, like, I've got some really great ideas now. Like, I never thought to arch my back in this way, or like do my butt this way, or whatever. And I think because it was also surrounded by beautiful femmes and thems, you know, like, it was okay to glance because you're glancing at everything. And so it did it did make you feel safe, and like you weren't going to be shamed or anything for staring at a dick pic. You know,
well done.
Well, and I think like just one piece on that too. I think I was thinking of Robert Mapplethorpe and how like pivotal it was for me to know of, come in contact, understand the scandal there culturally at that time, you know, with the male body. But it's like out of that where it was almost like so forbidden to see, like culturally, and where an artist breaks through that and say, no, this is art, this is good,
and I'm beautiful and I'm worthy. And I mean, it's empowering, you know, like all of these images, when someone is taking an image or taking a self-portrait of this nature, you know, you are always envisioning yourself as your most desirable, your most powerful, right? Because you're like, I'm trying to lure somebody in. I'm trying to like get them hot and ready for me, right? So you're not going to view yourself as unworthy, because that's completely,
or you're probably not taking the picture. Like
exactly. These images are all about empowerment. They're about courage. They're about, you know, self-worth. It's such a beautiful medium, and I'm frankly quite surprised nobody's done it yet. Maybe they have, I don't know, but like not around here they haven't. So yeah,
you might need to do it like annually, Raechel. Who knows?
Oh
might
God,
need to
I know
here.
I might do one this fall. We'll see. It's kind of exhausting, but we'll see. We'll see where we go.
Well, Jenny's the zine editor for the podcast, so that might be like even
behind on that.
Even a zine idea.
We definitely want to do. I say we. It's me. I definitely want to do a coffee table book, and I would love to take it international. I think that the idea that I am so curious about is to see like what cultures and what, you know, even like microcultures do in this medium. Like, you know, are Brazilians all about butts, and like do French people really get hot and heavy for clavicles? I don't know. That's an answer we can find out though. So
I think it's a great question. Take it on the road. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
Hey, Raechel, about the Squirm, the workshop. How did that go? Tell us about what it was and how it went.
Yeah, for sure. So Squirm came about because I had known Tess very lightly. I was at her house almost a decade ago for New Year's Eve, and that's how I know her. And I ran into her in a maker fair at Holman's parking lot, and was just like, oh, hey, what's going on? You know, and started to kind of explain what the show was and what I was working on. And she got really excited and said there's a lot of synergy between the two. So, you know, if I wanted to collaborate, and I definitely was thinking, you know, at that time, I didn't have all the events figured out, but I did know that like I wanted to have events in conjunction, A, to get more people in, but B, to like foster conversation around, you know, consent and bodily autonomy and sexuality and all of these things. And also, you know, selfishly, I would love to learn how to talk sexy, because I am not a sexy talker. And I thought, wow, this is really great. You know, they know, like, they can help people with their sexting language, and then I can help them with their sexting images, and all around we can just level this medium right on up. So, so yeah, that's how it came about.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Pretty amazing. What's another conceptual question? What's the role of art? Like, what's it supposed to do for us?
I mean, you know, going off of my sort of concept of what art is, I would say its role is to connect and galvanize people around ideas and emotions. So, you know, music, getting angry, like punk rock, for example, you know, art form, beautiful in its both in its music and in its like adornments. I love punk rock so much, but like, you know, its whole point was to be subversive and to be angry and to get that anger out. You know, a lot of people were living under Margaret Thatcher, and like all that like nastiness. And, you know, we're going through very similar times. I would love to see more punk rock these days.
It needs to be more punk rock.
Yeah.
Get it out.
But yeah, I think it's a way to like communicate and connect people. That's what art is all about, and what it's always been about.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you the big question, titular to the show, Something Rather Than Nothing podcast is, why is there something rather than nothing, Raechel Wolfe?
You know, I knew you were going to ask this question, and I really struggled with it. And the most honest answer is, I don't care.
You know, I like that. I got to tell you one thing. The first thing that I thought
that might
is
be my favorite.
Sometimes when there's a pause on this question, there's one time I had, I was a big American Gladiators fan, the show, and I had Ice, Lori Fetrick on the podcast, and I was, well, let's just say very excited by this.
She can take a hot selfie.
Yeah.
Doi.
Now,
Lori, if you're listening, hot selfie, please.
I'll leave the mic hot and open for a while. So, so anyways, I think it was maybe the only guest. I've done almost 300 episodes where I gave an out on the question, and I said, you can tell me to fuck off for asking it. And she kind of answered it and then said, fuck off, Ken. And it was fun. So that was a highlight. And I don't care is as legitimate a stance as I can imagine.
I just feel like it's not for me. Like, I don't know why, you know, they're like, I feel like humans get so fucking wrapped up in why, and a little bit less kind of like concerned about like, how do I feel about this thing? Like,
right.
I don't care that there's a kombucha bottle on my table, but how do I feel about it? You know, like, why is the sky blue? I don't know, but does it make me happy? Like, what, like, I'm more interested in like the
how's
internal.
it impacting you right now?
Exactly. And like, I think, you know, getting real intimate with your emotions and how you experience them, and how, like, being, you know, emotionally intelligent. Like, let's get back on that. Let's be philosophers again, for fuck's sake. Like, science has its place for sure. And I am not anti-science by any means, but I do think that like humans need to start fucking thinking about shit like deeply again. And like, maybe it's because I'm on a sabbatical right now that I'm just like super introspective, and I'm like, man, why am I feeling a type of way right now? And then I'm like,
screaming. The times are screaming for philosophy,
for real
answers I don't know what, but I think there's a lot of energy around that, and it's wonderful to hear you're on sabbatical. I get excited when I hear that
more
word.
people need to take sabbaticals.
1,000%, 1,000%.
Step back and see what's going on.
Oh,
it's
my
so
goodness.
Helpful.
Well, Venus is also in retrograde, so
there is that.
I'm too much of an astrology girly these days. I almost didn't do the podcast because it's Mercury retrograde right now.
Oh wow! So you're coming in. You feel you're coming in hot off the skillet, hot off the skillet cosmically. You know what? Like on this show, I talk a whole bunch. I wanted to hand over the mic to Jenny, and I did. And one of nice. You know, she has to hear me talk like all the fucking time. So one of the things I thought was really cool was Jenny is my partner, and her connection, you know, as a woman, as a mom, as an educator, like as a whole person with like who she is in her body. And it's a really amazing thing. And I've been around a lot of uh, women like through my work in life and know how difficult that is. And so I gotta say, like, for my mind, it was just wonderful an experience with Jenny to see like the idea of her on the wall in as a model, as a photographer, the affirmation of those type of things, and to again use that word, celebrate it. Like, there's a reason for the word, because it's like, yeah, this is really good. So I'm saying kudos to you for the opportunity and us being able to sync with that art vibe, but also for Jenny.
Hey.
I was
Hey.
wondering like a bit of just like about your like experience as an artist, and just connecting and hearing from Raechel and be able to see this exhibit and your experience, your art experience.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I was blown away just seeing the opportunity, Raechel. And again, it was connected, I think, on Instagram, the call for submissions. And it came, I don't remember when I submitted, like how early in the process, but it came when I was wanting to put myself in front of the camera more, like intentionally, and in front of other people's cameras, even though taking pictures is what I like doing, and I'm a lot more comfortable with pictures of myself when I've taken them.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea to submit those types of photos, which in the past I've only shared, with my intimate partners, or with myself, I've looked through my camera roll when I was submitting, and there's a massive amount of photos of that nature in my camera roll, is what I would say. And only a small percentage get seen by whoever.
I love that.
A lot of it's for me, though,
Yeah.
like in those moments where you're feeling confident and wanting to see the most of yourself, I guess.
Yeah.
So I have some that I share and some that are just for me. So the idea that I could put those on a wall and kind of put myself out as an artist, like Ken said, was a double whammy. So thanks for that opportunity. It was
Oh
really...
my God, of course. But like, I'm so curious. How did you feel? Were you nervous? Were you...
I wasn't. Well,
did you want to shout from the rooftops, "This one's me"?
No, I was shocked. I did consider putting it out there a little more boldly, like, hey, go check out, and this is which number I am, and like, check it out. But one of my close friends went with some other friends, and she tried to guess. So that was hilarious to me, because she like went through this whole list of different numbers, and I'm like, nope, but that one was hot. Like, I love that you think that was me, but no, it wasn't. Yeah, it was cool. I'm wearing the cardigan that I had on in the picture that you selected, by the way. Yeah. I don't know, where was I going with that?
No, just your experience, like with it was like how you tripped out with it, or like
Yeah, it was an honor. I'm very much like in the background type person, where Ken's more in the forefront. So even leading up to that opening, we had different things going on in our life, and there was like a snowstorm going on.
Yeah.
So like we wanted to get up there, but there was this idea that maybe I'd show up feeling like the star, among this group of other stars, because we're all like putting ourselves up on this wall, thanks to you. But also it just felt great to stand there and be in the presence of all of that and know that I was part of it. Right. I don't know. Felt pretty powerful.
Yeah.
I would say that.
That's cool. And that's why it's nice to talk to you about it. And, like from the, you said early on, just talking about the different perspectives and like how you see it and what's going on.
Mhm.
Like you're planning for the what was the name you gave that room with the penises in the back? You had it was poetry. It was poetry. You had it. What was it?
Oh my God. I can't take credit for that. Somebody,
That's amazing.
one of
You
the
should put it in
attendees,
neon.
the Dong Dome. Yeah.
Dong Dome.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. So I'm sitting back here trying to do the interview. I'm like, Don Cave? Was it like I couldn't, I knew everything that I came up with was wrong. So then I was like, I can either say it and make this a mess talking out loud or not.
Kind of like the Thunderdome.
When you do the coffee table book, you can have the chapter like
the Dong Dome. Oh my God.
And it's all those...
That's hilarious. Yeah. I love how unserious it is because, yeah, I think that, man, so there's a couple more points. Like I wanted to make sure, so in my normal day-to-day, I am HR at my company, which is difficult whenever you're putting on a show of this nature, to like be mindful. I did have several coworkers come, and as you know, there was a full frontal nude of me with my face. I was not so anonymous, but I did that on purpose, and it was terrifying. I was really, really scared to do it. Mainly because, because of my work and like having any kind of like potential backlash from any of that. Mm-hmm. And you know, it wasn't anonymous because if you know me, you know that was me. But I really there were so many people who submitted their faces in the art, and I was like, what? They're gonna go and do their face, and I'm not going to like be in the ring with them. I'm not going to like be part of it. Like, I want to feel that too. You know, I don't want somebody to be doing something that I'm too scared to do of myself. So I did really push myself to like make sure that, that I was stepping up to the plate and, pulling my weight, or I don't know, any other sports or physical analogy you want to throw in there.
Yeah.
The other thing that I found really, really interesting, and there were conversations about this at some of the events, were we didn't get any submissions of vulvas or female genitalia or trans genitalia for that matter. So, you know, I hope for future iterations to get some
surprising.
I think there's just a lot of shame around, you know, tits are way easier and more palatable in a broad societal viewing than perhaps, you know, labia. So I think that, you know, I hope that changes. I hope that people can view and see that art and, you know, get comfortable with their own bodies. You know, you could see it on porn for sure, but also like that's so like it's just so fake. You know, I want to see real bodies. I want to see I don't know.
That's your next show.
Just vulvas.
Just vulvas. That's the name of it.
That's the name. Vulvas. Yeah, I'll have some t-shirts made.
There you go.
So we just do the podcast and just we're recording the brainstorming session. Raechel, wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you before we let you go. We know you do like you do a whole bunch of art things, and I wondered if you could talk about like some art projects you have, or well, I would say, and haven't talked to a lot of artists, or as many artists as I'd like to, this 2025, and just like, you know, what are you doing in art, or what do you think like art can do right now, and like trying to survive in wild times, and what you vibing on and doing, and all at?
So outside of like the For Your Eyes Only universe, as far as like what I'm doing there, I am starting to work on a feature-length film. Tomorrow, actually, I'm meeting with my collaborator, so we'll be doing some ideating, some conceptualizing, hopefully getting into some treatments later in May, and I would love to be shooting like late summer. But I think right now the most exciting thing for me is how can we strip out capitalism from the art world and be subversive? Like, how can we have, co-op galleries, or how can we do, one huge lesson learned for me as the curator of this show is next go around, I will start out with a silent auction and just have all the pieces up for auction the entire time. I think if we had done that, at like from the very get-go, from, opening, all the pieces would have been sold. It would have been much more accessible to people. I think we have to recognize the fact that if we want art in the working man's hands, which is where it needs to be, we need to make it accessible. So, however we can do that, and, community support for artists, and artists making sure that their art is affordable, whether that's making smaller pieces or, just figuring it out. Like, we deserve to have art too. And also artists deserve to eat and, continue to do their art. So I'm really excited to see what comes out of that, in the film space, not relying on these major production studios and doing instead like more co-op-y production for the art's sake of it, for just making cool shit, like being really anti-capitalist in the way that like your stuff is not pretty and perfect and polished and AI glossy. It's raw, it's dirty, it's, bring back filth, bring back.
And you're not running ads and getting sponsors, and you're not out for the pay. You're just out to make some art.
Just make the art. Thing. Yeah, be punk rock about it.
Yeah.
We need more punk. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Any cool art you've been looking at and that's like been blowing your mind lately?
Yes, I love Pace Taylor. Are you familiar with them? So this beautiful piece behind me is...
I've been staring at it.
Yeah, Pace Taylor is in fucking incredible. And I would say out of all the artists that I know currently in Portland, they're probably the most set to go international big time.
Okay.
I also love Jeremy O'Keefe. No, what's his last name? I like Instagram is...
I'll write that down.
Everybody. And I have the worst memory for names. Let's see.
Pace Taylor.
Jeremy O'Kai. Gorgeous work. My friend Braden. What's Braden's actual last name? Cox. Cox. Braden does incredible, like deep paintings that kind of look like nebulas to me. I'm sure Braden would call them something else, but like for me, every time I look at one of her paintings,
that's what
I'm
you're
just
seeing.
Like, it's nebula, it's earth, it's essence of life for me. But yeah, I'm like gaga for Pace. Mary is a I can't say her last name, so I'm gonna have to like spell it for you. Is a photographer, and she was in the show. She currently has her own show.
Nice.
And I'm gonna massacre her last name, but I think it's Luczki. Luczki.
Okay.
is
Mary.
Mary. But she's a phenomenal photographer. God, there's just so much good art and so much creativity in Portland right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's bursting. It continues to be a mecca for that. I mean, we're just blown away every time we're in the city, taking it in. There's new shit to see everywhere we go.
Yeah.
No matter which
I find
we're
even
in.
for me, like I'm a comic book junkie, and like that, like all of that.
Press.
There's enough go for a long time just on that, like thread.
It's incredible. And then you got people making board games. You got teens out here doing like generator shows. You've got like, I'm so inspired. And like, you know, I lived in New York. I grew up in Dallas, Texas. I've been, you know, in LA a lot. But like, I feel like Portland, it's kind of one of those places where you're like, hey, I have an idea. And people are like, fuck yeah, let's do it. You know, case in points, I had never curated a show before in my life. And here we go, you know, with my very first gallery show at Purple Door, which is an incredible space. So
amazing.
Yeah, I think it's just like decide what you want to do and just do it. Like Google, we live in a time now where there is absolutely no excuse to not do, like you can Google anything. You can YouTube how to build a car. You can do whatever you put your mind to, like do it.
Yeah.
You know, we are so incredibly lucky right now. And I think just living in the moment and being present, there's a lot of fucked up shit going on in the world, but there always has been, you know? So I think just doing your part to like bring beauty and connection into the world, that's how we fight.
It's the best way to fight it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks.
Keep it on.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks, Raechel. It's great. It's great to chat with you. I wanted to mention, and we can splice some of this extra stuff in there too. Not so formal. The one thing I wanted to mention was prior to going to For Your Eyes Only, and even afterwards, I had a touchstone in my head of like what I would expect. And for me, the image, and I'm not going to know the name of the image, but I'm going to describe it. Was I saw it in a museum years ago, and when I've seen it each time, it just struck me. It is a bit of an oversized photograph, a bit grainy, Polaroid, gorgeous, beautiful woman, blonde woman, long blonde hair, topless, in front of a motorcycle, and there was so much about it that was like just, I don't know, like raw and inviting and exposed, you know, with like the desert.
Wasn't it from like 70s too? So it had that.
It had a 70s. It had a 70s kind of a feel to it, and so like that prominent image is just stuck in my head of like it being. And the high desert was part of it too. Is like, wow, like there's an incongruence that I just was like, oh man, that is such a, like I shouldn't see this photo, like that piece of it. Like I think, that type of thing. So, anyways.
No, I mean that yes, yes. I think, you know, the medium of these being sexed photos. Nobody has seen these except for the lover, right? And like you get to see them now. So like people were like very excited to go. It's like, you know, looking at somebody's diary, you know, it's so intimate, but it's also, I think, because of the blurbs too, it was like, oh, this person was, you know, healing from domestic violence, or this person, you know, had just had top surgery and were transitioning, or this person Like this is their first time looking at their body, really, it's just like, it is so incredibly powerful. And I'm so, honestly, it feels like an out of body experience, even though like I like nearly killed myself pulling this shit together, but like, it doesn't feel like I put it together. Like I feel like sort of a conduit for a greater purpose, if that makes sense. Like I just, it feels bigger than me, honestly. And it made me a little bit, maybe uncomfortable. Like receiving praise for this, not because like I'm not proud of it. I'm certainly proud of it. It's one of the best things I've ever done, for sure. But it just feels like I shouldn't take credit for it, because it doesn't feel like it feels like I was just the hands of something bigger. So I am excited to like continue to bring this to more and more people. There's no way I can't. People were literally like, when's the next one? I wish I had known. I want to send you my nudes right now. I'm like, please don't.
Vulvas only coming next year. I mean,
it's now that I've got the formula down and I can ask for help. I think, it's definitely replicatable, but also for anybody out there, I don't give a shit. Do it in your city. You're the most connected in your city. Take the idea and do it on your own. I have no tie to this capitalistically. Like, I'm not trying to trademark this. I think that like, it's a great idea. Go do it in Amarillo, Texas, or Tulsa, Oklahoma, or Chicago. Like, do it.
Yeah.
If you need help, I'll help you do it. But I think that it is definitely something that is needed in this world. People need to feel beautiful and powerful. Cishet men, trans people, lesbians, like everybody needs to feel seen and beautiful and appreciated. And this is a really lovely medium for that. So I hope that it does spread. I hope I'm not the only one out here doing it. Somebody reach out to me. Let's get this popping.
Exactly.
Let's bring it worldwide.
Yep.
Love it, man. Tapping really into our vibe. Raechel, it's been really great to talk to you on a Something Rather Than Nothing podcast, and everybody, Raechel Wolfe, and could you leave your handles there, Raechel? So for folks, they're gonna have to see some visuals, a little bit of where to find the For Your Eyes Only, or maybe some of those photos, or Instagram.
Yeah. So my Instagram handle is r_the_wolf with an E at the end. And then you can look at foryoureyesonlyart.com. And I will be posting, updates and stuff there eventually, once I have another location secured and we're ready to start accepting submissions again. Awesome. But yeah, I cannot thank you enough, Jenny, for your courage and your trust in submitting and being a part of the show. It's so incredibly beautiful, and I am forever grateful for you and your submission. And
you should take the compliments, because it wouldn't have happened without you. Even though you served as this conduit for myself and others to put themselves on a wall, it wouldn't have happened without your idea and without you speaking with Chelsea, right?
It's all very kismet. It does feel very
just came together.
Yeah, I love it. It's spooky. And Ken, next time, are you gonna submit something?
Yeah.
I would actually. I found, you know what? So here's one thing. I've ended up doing stuff lately, grew up in Rhode Island, Catholic, in Rhode Island. I'm 52. Of a particular time, but I don't know, like I've changed and developed and been more comfortable and immersed myself. A lot of it up in the Pacific Northwest. Like I've been here 14 years. Would never have thought about like being naked publicly, hot tub or at the what's the place in Portland there?
We've gone to all sorts of places. I've been in influence, Raechel.
No, the house, the Everett House.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Everett
yeah.
House. We were sunbathing all summer too.
Yeah, Jenny's been a big influence. No, obviously a huge influence, but just like taking that step and going out this, what was it, Rooster Rock this summer, like we were there like
Cock Rock.
Cock Rock, yeah.
Man, I love it.
Cock Rock all day long.
That place is the coolest.
It's important to be free in yourself, and that's what we're getting at, including these middle-aged cishet men, you know.
You got it. Your bodies are beautiful too. You are made of stardust.
Oh, it's I've told Jenny, because she treats me this way before, but it's even on for what women can feel comfortable sharing as well. Like I've remembered like partners and when they've said like words like beautiful or like about like my body, it's not an easy thing to say like all around. And I think sometimes like guys can be like, what do you mean? That's more of a girly word, and you know, like and
what's
so
wrong
it's
with that?
I know,
right?
I know. And so, but I'm saying it's noticeable. Like I can notice it and receive it really well. And no, it's been a process of liberation. Even this podcast, I've done it for like 6 years. For me, you know, I'm a labor organizer and do all the labor stuff. So like we can do, hey, labor and HR sitting here, we can do the podcast together as well. It's like, this is unbelievable. Like, you know, like people talking about this, but no, it's Jenny's really helped me a whole bunch. And environmentally, there's a cool vibe I can't put into words that exists in Oregon that I'll never be able to put into words. It's weird, mysterious. I can't figure it out. It confounds me, but I love it.
Yeah. It's true though.
Yeah. It's a little Swiss Family Robinson. Like we're all just scrapping things together and trying to have a good time, you know?
Yep.
That makes sense.
And making some weird art while we're at it.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, well, you guys, it has been an absolute pleasure.
This is Something Rather Than Nothing.
And listeners, to stay connected with us and our guests, visit somethingratherthannothing.com. Join our mailing list for exclusive updates and access to guest-created art. If you enjoyed this episode or any episode, please like, subscribe, and leave a review on your podcast platform. People really read that shit. Your support helps us reach more listeners and spread our community across the planet. This is a global show, and we like to give a shout out to our many listeners across the world, including many listeners in Canada, Spain, Germany, UK, Argentina, Brazil, India, Thailand, and so many more places. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Something Rather Than Nothing Podcast for behind-the-scenes content. And the best way to help the show is to tell your friends about us. If you love it, they'll love it too. Tell your friends who love it. We love you. This is Something Rather Than Nothing Podcast.